Welcome to BooksterTV, the independent author showcase series. I'm Craig Phillips. I'm really excited about today's very special episode featuring an extremely talented, lovely, and quirky author who goes by the name of P.K. Gallagher. She's written a very interesting and entertaining fantasy novel called Cerberus. Here's the blurb. For Caden Parrish, life in Solace has always followed certain rules. Everything makes sense, everything can be planned for, and everything is as it seems. Unfortunately, a secret harbored by his gorgeous, albeit guarded girlfriend is about to shatter all of that. After a successful attack on his life opens his eyes to a world of war, shadows, and supernatural creatures, a world he didn't plan for, Caden finds himself resembling the sort of monster he has always feared. As he desperately struggles to resist a new temptation, danger draws ever nearer, threatening the ones he loves most. A prophecy tells of a final battle and great destruction, and Caden must decide which side he's on, a choice that could ultimately mean the end of the world. Okay, in book 1 of the Solace series, P.K. Gallagher pulls readers into a realm where good and evil are at war. And the outcome of it all rests on one young man's decision to either go and live or stay and die. This is where Parrish begins. All right, now, after hearing all that, you gotta agree, this is gonna be a hit for paranormal, vampire, angels and demons lovers out there. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, this is a very special episode of BooksterTV. That's because we've got the author, P.K. Gallagher, live over Skype, and she's agreed to give us her first interview on this novel, Cerberus. We're pretty psyched about that. Let's call it an exclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, and booksters of all ages, we are talking to the one, the only P.K. Gallagher this afternoon. Yeah, so I know that I have to ask this just for myself. Maybe everybody else in the world knows, but I don't know. What the hell does PK stand for?
Well, that is actually kind of a secret. Nobody knows.
Ah.
But if you'd like, you can call me Parker.
Okay, Parker Gallagher. Now I know this is, I'm famous for asking dumb questions, so bear with me. Gallagher. Now, is this your artist name or is this you? I have an artist name too. I'm a musician. A lot of people don't know that, but I do a lot of hosting like I'm doing now. But I also have an artist name as a singer-songwriter, kind of guy. So is this the name for the author or is this just who you always are?
This is the name for the author. Unfortunately, I was not born with such a rad last name.
Okay, now you were born where?
Montgomery, Alabama, actually, deep south.
No kidding. I've never been to Alabama. I've always been afraid of Alabama. Probably, I'm a different generation. So, how was it growing up in Montgomery, Alabama?
Dull.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I actually blame how boring it was for what got me into writing. Because at sometimes you have to make your own fun, go to your own little world.
Yeah, so you pretty much created that in pages. So that's really wonderful. That explains one of the questions that readers wanted to know, or I should say tweeters wanted to know. How does a young black woman from the South get into sci-fi in general?
Well, that's pretty much it. When you live in the suburbs, when you've lived in the suburbs all your life, you start looking for any way out. For a while, there's no going. You live with your parents, you're broke, or whatever. Your only escape is college, and that's on the horizon, way far out there. And so you start looking to read things that are very different from what you're used to, the world that you're used to. And that's really how I got started, reading and then eventually writing my own stories.
Yeah, and this is some deep stuff. It's amazing because you really got, this is your work comes across as coming from someone who's much older than you are, is your age a secret, or may I ask that?
You may. 22.
22?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a hottie, you're 22, and you're living in, you're in Georgia, is that correct?
Right. Atlanta. So a little bit more metropolitan and much more to my liking.
Cool. How long have you been in Atlanta?
It's been a few years now. Wow, it's been a lot of years. I think it's been like 12.
Okay. And did you come because of family, or was it one of these things where you were a runaway?
No, not quite so interesting. My father was relocated, and so I moved up here with him.
Cool. Okay. Is he someone who's completely aware of your amazing talent?
I don't know how aware of my talent he is, but he is very supportive. He is my support. I don't know if you've noticed, but the book Cerberus actually is dedicated to my father. He's the person who's been there when I'm wondering, am I fooling myself? Am I actually crap at writing and no one's telling me? He's the one who's like, no, don't be ridiculous. Keep writing. I know you're going to succeed.
Well, that's awesome. I think a real basic question, and again, it could be dumb because I'm dumb, but Cerberus, what does that mean?
Cerberus is from Greek mythology. It is the three-headed dog that guards the entrance to the underworld. And if a soul from the underworld tries to escape, their soul is devoured by one of its three heads, possibly all three at once, which sounds extremely unpleasant for me.
I hate it when that happens. How did you get inspired to write Cerberus?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with author Scott Westerfeld at all, but once he said that some days you just wake up and have to write a vampire novel. And for me, that day was one evening like 7 years ago. I was doing a character exercise with a friend, just doing a role play, trying to, keep the writing muscles loose. The role play tanked. We got maybe 4 posts in, but the character I created, named Jordan Rivers at the time because I was dumb, I couldn't get him out of my head. I wanted to know more about him, where he came from, why he was dealing with so many problems. And that guy became Caden Parrish, and the story just kind of unfolded around him.
Okay.
Went through a lot of incarnations, but you've got him now.
Yeah, and this is great. Are you surprised at the response, the positive feedback related to your book?
I think I am surprised, but I would also have been extremely disappointed if I hadn't gotten such a positive response. Like I said, 7 years in the making, it's a lot of time and a lot of work to put into something that it turns out no one likes.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't even aware till you just said it, because that would have been a question as well. How long did it take? So you've been on this Cerberus journey for 7 years.
Yes. It's gone through so many drafts. Over the course of 7 years, especially when you're as young as I am, you are still growing as a writer. You're still getting better. And when you first start off, you're kind of not very good. Like I said, his name was Jordan Rivers, for goodness sake. And I thought I was so clever. Just there were things that didn't make sense, continuity errors. And as I get older, it gets to the point where my writing style at the end of the novel is totally different from the writing style at the beginning. And so you can't keep having to start over and edit, and so it just took a while.
When did you officially call it a novel?
I officially called it a finished novel in spring 2012. I finished it in a flat in Paris, France.
No kidding.
Very true.
That's great.
100%.
And were you in Paris related to school or just for fun?
School. I'm actually fluent in French. I've studied it for several years.
Okay, I'm fluent in German, and I'm talking to you now from Hamburg, Germany. So we've got a bit of a time difference, but the beautiful thing about technology, nobody watching our show will know that. So tell me something. What was the most challenging part of writing this novel?
I really think that the hardest part for me was finishing it. I was kind of my own worst enemy. As time went on and I was finally satisfied with this part that I'd just written, I would go back and read the beginning and like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'm an awful writer. Woe is me. Then start over again. And by that point, I've made a change that makes the part that I just written not work anymore. There's some continuity errors now. Oh, gotta go fix those. And I started this novel the summer before Stephenie Meyer published Twilight.
Wow.
Halfway through, like it's taking me 7 years, I'm only just getting into where it is what it is today. And Twilight has exploded. Vampires are the thing. And I just have this crisis. Like, oh my gosh, what's the point? Now I'm just going to be one more novel placed on a vampire display. People are going to think I'm riding the coattails of Stephenie Meyer. And so I talked myself out of writing it so many times and then talked myself back into it. So really just finishing it was so difficult for me because this is my first novel.
I've read different reviews you can find floating around in the blogosphere, and everybody seems to have the same opinion, that you write like someone who's been doing this a long time, that's done it many times before. So that's a great compliment. If you were here, I'd give you a smack on the back for that, so I guess I can only give you a virtual one. So smack on the back, because you're awesome. So this is really great stuff. Is there any particular message in your novel that you would want readers to grasp? And I know that's kind of an oblique question, but maybe there's really something you're trying to, because I know what you're trying not to say is you're not riding the coattails of anybody else.
Definitely, actually. What I really want people to get from this is the dangers of preconceived notions, of letting your own prejudices blind you to the trouble that's facing us all. So many people are focused on the little things, the little differences between us that they can't see. We all live in this one world. We've all got the same problems. And if we work together to fix them, maybe a lot of the bad things that happen to us wouldn't happen.
That's great.
And I was always worried that some people wouldn't get it. They just read it as a vampire novel and call it a day. But I knew I wouldn't be satisfied if I didn't have a message like that in there. So it's there for anyone who wants to read for that.
That's great. That is awesome. So now, this is just a guy question. How tall are you?
I am depressingly short. I am 5'2.5".
Oh, wow. So you are the little author that could.
My older sister is 5'9", and I've always been insanely jealous.
Wow, that is a big difference.
Yeah.
And how tall is your dad?
I think 6 foot exactly.
So it's coming from him.
Right.
And is your mom, is she still with us?
Yes. She's shorter than I am.
Okay, so you got that.
Yes, I got that.
Now, back to your book. Are your characters based on anyone you really know?
Not that I recognized, and even if they were at this point, the characters have really evolved with me.
Sure.
Over the course of these years. So now they are virtually pretty much their own people. So I think they all probably just spawned out of my head.
That's the best place too. And what are you doing for fun? away from writing, we know you love writing, you're awesome at it. What does Parker do just to kill time, just to have a good time?
Oh, wow. Great. Now everyone discovers that I am a huge nerd. I love video games. I like video games, I like anime, I like graphic novels, and of course I read. But whenever I want to wind down, I'm just gonna go get on my PS3 and more likely than not shoot some zombies.
Join the club. Okay, cool. I love talking to a geek, especially a hot geek. There's nothing cooler than a hot geek. So any guy is going to agree with me on that, I guarantee it. And probably a lot of women too. So what can we expect? You know, we know we've got Cerberus. It's in the can, so to say. It's on the shelf. And what can we expect in book 2?
Book 2, Receptica, is going to basically just answer most, if not all, of your questions, tie up all the loose ends, and you'll see hopefully some explosive character growth. The first book, while I hope everyone found it interesting, it's just the wind up. The pace of the next book is going to be much faster. You're going to learn things about some characters you didn't know, maybe didn't necessarily want to know, but it's important that you do. And let's just say that the characters aren't going to be in Solace anymore.
Okay, that's our hint. All right, and particularly speaking, is there any one book or books that have been major influences in your writing style, for example?
I don't necessarily know about my writing style. I know my approach from writing, however, or to writing, was greatly influenced by the one and only Stephen King.
Ah, right.
I adore this man. I had a dream literally the other night that he said something good about my book, and I threw up and rejoiced all at the same time. It was very embarrassing, and he got freaked out and ran away from me. But
yeah, I usually freak out too when a girl throws up on me. I don't know. I
think it was the fact that I was still trying to say thank you while throwing up. But don't talk about that anymore.
Stephen King. Okay, that's not at all a bad influence. Now, would you go as far as to say that is he a muse of sorts, or do you have one, or have you ever had one?
I do have a muse. She is this temperamental thing that lives in the back of my head, and sometimes she's like, hey, wouldn't that be cool? And other times she's just going to be totally gone, totally useless to me. Stephen King is more of an inspiration, I guess you could say. Not a writing inspiration, but just as a person. It's because of him that I learned that you can write genre fiction and have it still mean something. It doesn't have to be, just monsters and things happening and blood and guts. No, you can have a message. You can write literarily, you can write in a literary fashion. You can have your metaphors and your symbolism. It doesn't have to be just, and then he sucked her blood.
That's brilliant. And we do know that you definitely delivered a purposeful message in this first novel, so that's really great. Clearly you've taken something from that. What are you reading today? Today,
I am catching up on the Mortal Instruments series. Okay. I am reading Cassandra Clare's book 5. I think it's City of Lost Souls. I mix them up sometimes, City of Lost Souls and City of Fallen Angels. But catching up on it, I read the first 3 in high school and then just never got a chance to read the others. And now I feel like that's a pity since the movie's out. And I should probably get on that.
Yeah, so that's a good point. How do you feel about books to movies?
Sometimes they can be good, but I feel like most of the time you should not read a book and then go into the movie expecting to get the same thing out of it. There's so much that you can do in a book that you can't do in a movie. You get into characters' heads. There can be whole conflicts that exist solely in a character's head, and you can't really show that on film. And also, when you're doing film, it's not necessarily your work anymore. And the film writer, the screenwriter, the person adapting it is trying to also make it marketable to whomever the target audience is, and that's sometimes different. I read Warm Bodies not too long ago, but I saw the movie first, and I'm glad I did, because I would have been really annoyed about every little thing had I not. They're both good. I enjoyed them both, but the message in the movie is different from the message in the book. The character designs are different. And I got something different out of each one. So I feel like there's something to be said for them if they're done well, but they're not going to be the same. And sometimes they just won't be done well, like Aragon. Sorry.
Okay, now I've got a question I've got a tweet this time, and I'm sure it's a guy. Do you have a boyfriend?
I do not, actually. I do not have a boyfriend.
Okay, I will ask this. Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't have. And given the choice, I would go with the boyfriend. And there's nothing wrong with girlfriends.
Yeah, nothing at all. I like girls and I like guys. I think it's all that's how the world goes round. Now, is there a reason why you're single right now? Has it anything to do with writing?
I don't think so. I don't like to think so. I hope not, because in that case, I'm going to be alone forever. Between guy and writing, the writing's going to win.
That's great.
But mostly just haven't come across the right person yet. I write, I work, I'm going to school, so.
You're busy.
I am busy. I wouldn't say too busy, but maybe just my head is always somewhere else that I'm missing out, heaven forbid, on the person who's like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
You want to get dinner?
Now, this is a question from me. Do you hang out at Little 5 Points, or is it still even there?
It is there. I love Little 5 Points, and my favorite restaurant over there is the Vortex. I adore the atmosphere. I love the people. Unfortunately, I don't get a chance to get over there too often. Embarrassing fact about PK: I can't drive. No, you're not supposed to laugh.
No, I'm laughing because I can drive and I hate to drive. So I don't know why you can't, but my reasons are different, but at the same time, I don't drive. So I have to laugh because people look at me and think, hey, as old as you are, why aren't you driving? I drive I drive Real Racing 3. That is what I drive. So, I'm a gamer, and that's. Say again?
There's something to be said for that.
Oh yeah, and I'm good at it too. So I would imagine in a real car, I'm gonna kick ass. So, so you can't drive because you haven't learned yet?
That is exactly right.
Okay. That's all right, because you're bound to have a chauffeur. So inevitably that guy or girl will drive you wherever you want to go.
Gonna fingers crossed for that, because I'm tired of being stuck at home.
Now, how would you be open to selling the rights for your book to a movie?
Yes, as long as M. Night Shyamalan isn't directing it.
Okay.
I guess it depends. I don't know how negotiating that sort of thing works, and I would really like them to not completely change the meaning behind the story. Mm-hmm. That would really bother me. And though I could use some money, I'm not going to sell my book's proverbial soul for it.
Okay, that's very.
If I do that, I would have published it with a traditional publisher.
Sure, that's respectful. I can totally respect that. Which leads into this question. It's probably a very good question. Do you have any advice for other independent writers?
I think the best advice I can give is to do not listen to the naysayers. Those people who tell you, I mean, statistically, your book is 98.9% likely to fail. Don't listen to them. If you have written this book and you think it's good and you have something to say, then don't just let it end with, oh, I got this rejection letter, or oh, this person says that I'm not good enough. Don't do that. Because only you know how good it can be. Keep working on it.
Sure.
Keep at it. Self-publish. Don't get burned out. It's a lot of work to self-publish a book and market it. Sometimes you got to put some money down for that. But if you want it, then go for it. Because the satisfaction of being here right now with people reading your work exactly how you want it to be, it's a great feeling, and it's worth however many sleepless nights you spend agonizing over what to do and how to do it.
All right. So everybody out there that's writing a book, listen to Parker. She has a clue. Now, what are you going to do today? What's the typical day for PK Gallagher?
My days these days are, well, not very typical. It's mostly just work. Blog tour kicks off next month, and so I'm trying to just get the word out a little bit, and so I spend most of my day marketing, trying to access some markets, let people know, hey, this is out, you should check it out. And I edit in my it's part of my job, or one of my jobs. I edit other people's manuscripts, and I'm currently working on one, so I'll be doing that today. And that's probably about it.
Okay.
So not very fun, but
it is what it is. And I will be making a genuine effort to help you out as well. I noticed that you've created a few trailers, and I tried to access one. Maybe it's because I'm in Germany, but for whatever reason, this video is not available. Came too often. So perhaps that is something, I don't know if that's something you have any control over, but I think it's great that you're making these trailers. Is that correct?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we will be also trying to, make some sort of contribution to PK Gallagher and Cerberus. The second book, what was the title once again?
Receptica.
Please keep me in the loop with that, and by all means, anytime I can get you on the camera again, I would really be, I'm all for it. So I think you're a terrific writer, beautiful woman, and cool personality, and geeks shall inherit the earth, as we all know. And for all of us here at BooksterTV, it was a real pleasure having you on the show, and I really appreciate you making the time for it.
Not a problem. I enjoyed myself. You made me totally not nervous.
Cool. Now let's help you totally get famous.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. And stay on the line, but we're going to say goodbye, and hopefully we talk again soon.
Hopefully. I look forward to it.
That was PK Gallagher, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Bye. Isn't she just darling? Well, look, if you made it through the last half hour, I want to thank you for sticking it out. We weren't sure whether to air this entire interview or chop it up into little bits and pieces. And in the end, we'll probably do both. For BooksterTV, I'm Craig Phillips. Thanks again for tuning in. Now, if you're an independent author with talent and a great book, and you think we should know about it, let us know. Write to info@bookstertv.com. See you around.